Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Chris.
And we're here to talk about the latest game on the Nintendo Switch that everyone loves, Persona 5.
Yeah, we always like to bring you the latest news on the latest Nintendo games.
Yeah, well, okay, so here's what happened. My sister-in-law is staying with us right now, so I have access to her PlayStation 4, the forbidden fruit. And yeah, actually, kind of a little-known fact about me is that I actually really like Persona 4 from the PlayStation 2 days. That was one of the games that I kind of heard a lot of good things about, and I tried it out, and it was a lot of fun. I thought it was a really nice take on the JRPG structure. I thought it was pretty interesting. Had a lot of dialogue, and I really liked the characters and the general style. So I've actually kind of had my eye on Persona 5 for a while, so I'm glad I was able to finally get a chance to play it. And Chris, you got to play some of it as well, right?
Yeah. I also played Persona 4 and quite loved it. I don't recall, was it you that got me into it or vice versa?
I think I had played it first because I remember learning from it just from general reviews and stuff around that time.
Okay.
My friend got me a used PlayStation 2 a couple years back, and I'd mainly used it just to play Dragon Quest 8 and like Shadow of the Colossus and God of War. So I was kind of looking for anything else that might have been cool. It was this was like during a drought or something. I was this might be fun. It was between the Wii and the Wii U. There was kind of just a year of nothing. So I played it around 2010 or 2011.
Yeah. And that summer, I think it was the summer of maybe 2010. It was like we played so much of that game.
Yeah, like you came and stayed over, and we worked on like Brawl in the Family stuff, whenever we were just had some free time, yeah, one of us would play one of our files in there.
Yeah, and I think I played through the game twice. Did you as well?
I went through like 1.5 times.
Yeah.
I did like the New Game Plus, and I was kind of maxing out stuff, but near the end of that, I think I don't know what usually happens with long RPGs like that. If I don't finish them, is something else comes out, and I kind of forget to go back to it.
Yeah, because it should be said, these games are long. Like,
yeah,
Persona 4 was like 60 plus hours, I think.
I mean, it took me between 70 and 80 from what I remember, just for like the first time. And if you want to max out everything, I'm pretty sure you got to play through it at least twice, unless you really know what you're doing, I guess. But the point is, we both really like these games.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. The Persona 4 is a great experience. So Persona 5, I'll lay out a kind of a basic framework here. So like, if you've never played a Persona game, it's a bit like high school. You don't really know who you are. You don't really know what you're doing. And it feels like it's going to go on forever. That's kind of what the game is like, because in both of these games, and also Persona 3 a bit, which I played a little bit of, your main character is kind of is a transplant. So he's coming from a different town, and he's in a new high school, meeting a lot of new people. The protagonist doesn't talk, so it's kind of a self-insert kind of role. And you learn about this new school you're in, all the people you meet, and there's generally some kind of supernatural challenge that arises, and you obviously rise to the challenge and start learning about all these supernatural powers you have, and the story takes off from there.
But the structure's a little bit different, I find, than your usual RPG. Whereas,
yes.
You're not really going from town to town or anything. You're in one area, and the gameplay progresses throughout the days of the week and the weeks and the months of your school year.
Right.
So a big part of the challenge is actually in finding how to best manage your time. Like you can spend a day studying in the library, getting your knowledge stat up, or you can go hang out with your friend and get your rank up with that person, or you can go run through a dungeon, which takes up a day and an evening usually, and get EXP and that good stuff.
Yeah.
But I find that's one of the core addicting elements of the series is finding how best to use your time and what the best order to take things in is.
Yeah, it actually kind of reminds me of Harvest Moon in a way, where you have this section of the game that's more banal, but is more full of like character moments and fun dialogue, and it's a little more laid back, where it's like, okay, I have a month here or a week. How do I spend my time the best? You live your life in a more banal fashion compared to a typical RPG, and it's a very charming aspect of the game. It lets the world build kind of organically. And then you have the combat sections where you have dungeons that are fairly long to get through. It's not like most like Final Fantasy where you can you go through a dungeon in 30 minutes, maybe an hour. These dungeons can last several hours. They're typically several floors. Each floor has many puzzles and enemies within them. and they're kind of designed to be beaten in waves. So like there's several checkpoints through each dungeon, and you get to a checkpoint, and at each checkpoint you kind of reconsider, well, do I have enough resources to continue, or should I retire for the day and come back later?
Yeah, and I find the Persona games are generally more challenging than a lot of RPGs in that you really do have to keep an eye on your magic, your SP, your health, and your items to make sure you don't suddenly find yourself at the mercy of the enemies, because it's pretty easy to die when only your main character needs to get knocked out for you to get a game over.
Yeah, it's pretty tough because the fact that if your main character gets knocked out, you lose. It means that on any one given turn, the enemy could just randomly, get a critical strike on your protagonist. If he's not at full health, they could actually kill him in one hit. So that can be kind of frustrating. But you can do things to reduce the chance of that happening. So there are ways to alleviate it. But there have definitely been moments where like I've lost like a couple hours of progress because this very unlikely thing happened that caused my protagonist to get knocked out, which is you get a little frustrating.
I think everybody's had a moment or two like that in these games. Yep. So with that foundation out of the way, what are your thoughts on this new game, Persona 5?
Well, I think it does a lot of things really well. I think the presentation is great. It's got great voice acting, great soundtrack, and the graphics are really top notch. Like, it does a good job establishing this fairly lush and inviting world, a pretty organic, like living world in front of you. That is pretty fun to explore and talk to people and really kind of immerse yourself within. Okay. Narratively speaking, the game initially focuses on the stories of a few antagonists in the world. If I have a criticism about this, it's that the antagonists aren't really connected. So basically, you're learning about this alternate reality, shall we say, which is it's like a parallel realm with the real world in which people's emotions and deep desires are manifested in the form of monsters, or kind of a corrupted world, you might say. So you, as a protagonist, you learn with your companions that you have the ability to fight this and correct the real world problems by going through this parallel world of like people's emotions and basically defeating these bad emotions and setting people straight. So you kind of like people who are kind of corrupt or like evil in the real world, you can kind of fix that by beating them in this alternate world.
You kind of give them like a metaphysical lobotomy. Yeah. You mess with their brains.
Yeah, but it kind of shakes them to their senses, So it's kind of like you're helping them, not like brainwashing them or something. Yeah.
I mean, I think you can, by and large, you can rationalize their actions for these main villains. At least I should say that Chris and I have both played the first like 3 main dungeon areas, which is, for the game like this, that's like 30 or 40 hours. So we don't know actually how we don't know how it ends or where it goes, but these are kind of our impressions kind of in progress, as it were.
So I think that the way that it's done in those first 3 dungeons is pretty compelling. Particularly, I think the first one is it, like Persona 4, it tackles some real world issues, like it tackles sexual abuse. It tackles like abuse of authority. It tackles the different motivations that people can have to succeed in a field. Like the bad guy is basically a teacher who's abusing his students. And because he used to be like a famous athlete, and he's doing anything he can to build up his own reputation. And the students are like, who are being abused, can't they really say anything about it?
Because the teacher's kind of building the school's credibility too. Like, he's got an all-star track team.
Right. So it has developed this real world culture of people saying, well, shut up. Like, it's important to build up the school's success. So I don't care that he's beating you, you need to deal with it. It was basically the attitude that is given to the students. So it's presented as though, okay, the only way to really solve this is to use this alternate dimension to get into his psyche and basically fix it. And I thought generally, from a narrative standpoint, it was done well. It was compelling. But
they really make him detestable too.
Oh yeah.
It's like, this guy is a scumbag, man.
That's all well and good, but we don't actually learn more about our main characters. So the bad guy in the first one, like once you beat him, he's kind of gone from the story. There's no real connection between this dungeon and the rest of the game. By comparison, in Persona 4, each dungeon is basically centered around one of your party members. So you're learning more about their personal demons, what drives them, and by the end of the dungeon, they've gone through a bit of an arc. So they've developed as a character, which makes them more interesting. You connect with them more, and you really like feel a more of a sense of camaraderie with them.
Yeah, and I liked how in Persona 4 you'd go through these dungeons, but it wasn't always just like you have this character flaw and you need to fix it kind of thing. It was more like this is part of you. You need to, embrace that, but also kind of, I guess it kind of depended on the character itself.
Yeah.
But I found that there was a pretty good variety of their shadow selves, and for them, what it takes to confront them and grow as a character.
Yeah, like the idea was that everyone really has parts of themselves that they deny, or they don't want to fully embrace, or they want to act like they're someone different than who they really are. So it was really promoting the idea that, hey, it's a strengthening and admirable thing to embrace yourself for who you are, and that's the only way you can deal with any issues you might have in a healthy way. Which was really cool, and it was presented in a way that made all the characters really interesting and fun. And I can't say I've got the same experience out of Persona 5. The narrative simply hasn't focused on giving them that kind of development, which has led it to feel like just narratively a little more of a simplistic exercise.
Okay. Well, to address a couple things there, I do think they don't necessarily have to have each, a palace for each character for the characters to grow in just the normal JRPG way.
Right.
Like there are ways you can develop a character without having to kind of do the whole mental breakdown thing.
Yeah.
I find that they reserve the character depth more for like kind of normal stuff, like the social links, or sometimes in cutscenes where they're all hanging out. And from that perspective, I think it works pretty well. But I would agree with you that the cast so far has not really hooked me the way Persona 4's did. I guess to get into specifics, I find they don't feel as close to me, not to me, but they don't feel as close with each other, to me when I watch. Like for instance, Morgana, the mascot character, he's always calling Ryuji a huge moron and complete idiot. And it's like, he's kind of harsh, buddy. Like a lot of times, I mean, he's not the sharpest tool there is, but I mean, there's a lot of pretty strange things going on. So whenever someone acts in disbelief, like Morgana really gets on his case. So it's like, why is he so mean,
Yeah.
Like he's kind of the Teddy of the group, but Teddy was a lot friendlier. Like Teddy was kind of like, oh, hey, Sensei. Oh, you're so wonderful. He was kind of cornball, but he was kind of a nice guy. So that kind of threw me off. And speaking of like other characters, it sort of bothered me how similar some of the characters were to Persona 4 ones. Like I like Ryuji well enough, but he feels very similar to Yosuke, maybe with a little bit of the temper of Kanji.
Yeah.
And Ann, I feel she's noticeably similar to Rise from Persona 4. They both kind of have this sexuality thing that defines them on the outside that they're kind of fighting against. There's like this thread of both of them being seen as naked by the rest of the world at one point. And they both even have kind of this similar design with the pigtails and everything.
Yeah, I quite agree with that. I would say Ryuji is kind of like Kanji mixed with Yosuke, kind of.
Okay.
He has elements of both characters, and he ends up feeling just like a less interesting version of what those two characters had going on. I guess I didn't feel drawn in by his personal struggle. He's kind of, he's kind of dumb, I guess. He's kind of dull, but he's enthusiastic.
He's pretty loud a lot. He's always yelling about everything.
Yeah.
Everything's making him all angry.
Compared to the Persona 4 characters, though, I don't really get what makes him tick in the same way. So Anne is like Rise, definitely. I still see a little bit of Chie in there because like she's a little, I don't know, she's not like a pop star.
Yeah.
Personality wise, she's a little more of an every girl. But she just seems kind of dull. I don't know. She has not really intrigued me in the way that the other characters did from Persona 4. And then Morgana is like Teddy, except the annoyance factor is definitely cranked up. Teddy was, a little, he could beat up on Yosuke a little bit. But he was still kind of friendly and kind of cute and endearing. He was charming. But Morgana's just a jerk. And then when it comes,
he's pretty condescending a lot of the time.
Yeah, and then when it comes to the girls, like Teddy would still say, "Oh, Rise. Didn't he say he would hit on Rise or would he hit on Chie? I forget.
He would kind of hit on everyone, to be honest.
Okay, yeah. So he kind of hit on everybody, but it was kind of cute and kind of sweet. It wasn't like creepy.
It was sweet until around the halfway point.
Yeah, it got a little much.
Which involves some Teddy spoilers, but
Yeah.
Teddy kind of went off a cliff after that. But I did like him before that.
Yeah. But Morgana
But yeah,
is
sorry,
like,
go on.
the way Morgana does it is just kind of unsettling. It's not really charming because Morgana is just kind of severe in a lot of ways. So
Yeah.
I actually
Panther, you're so gorgeous.
so at the beginning of Persona 5, Morgana is one of the first characters that you meet, and it starts to be a little intriguing because Morgana she's with you almost all the time. And
Well, it's got a very feminine name.
yeah, I actually thought Morgana was a female at first, but and it's very like high-pitched kind of feminine voice.
And the voice, yeah.
Yeah. Which makes it even weirder how he hits on Anne, but so there are several elements about Morgana that made me very suspicious as to her that made me very suspicious as to his motives and the direction his character is going to go. For instance, in battle, Morgana can never actually faint. If Morgana is reduced to 0 HP, he'll say, "Oh, I gotta back out for a second," and instead of fainting, he'll just hop away like to the back of the battle and not participate in the battle anymore, but just like kind of watch. Which is
and
like,
still do the commentary and such.
Yeah, so it's like, how does he do that? Why doesn't he get knocked out like everyone else? And there are also several points in the game where he'll kind of say, "Oh, I don't think you should do that right now." Like, for instance, if you wanted to go out explore, sometimes he'll just say, "No, you shouldn't go out explore." Which is like, why is he controlling what I do? Why is he like always directing me? Whereas, like, so he starts.
I guess I just assumed these were all gameplay elements.
But it starts to feel like an imposition on the character's direction. So I see. So I started to wonder: is this character controlling the way that the protagonist is going through life?
Well, keep in mind, folks, if there's something fishy with Morgana, we don't know about it because we've only played the first part.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that that's the case because I think that would be interesting. That would be like the only interesting thing I could see happening with the character because as it stands after the first 3 dungeons, like I'm not really feeling Morgana. Like Morgana's just kind of an annoyance more than anything, unfortunately. Teddy had some development in Persona 4, which was kind of a mixed bag. Like we didn't like the one thing that he does.
The one thing that he does. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. But the bottom line for the characters for me is that, like I said, I don't think that so far they've explored them in a way that's as satisfying as in Persona 4, and so I don't really like them as much. They're okay. In the broad spectrum of video game storytelling, it's actually still pretty good. But yeah. I just think it could be so much better. I don't think it was necessary to make the characters so similar to Persona 4's characters, and I don't see why, when Persona 4 had such a good roadmap for how to explore characters in an interesting way that really made you feel connected to them and understand them as people, this game kind of doesn't do something like that. I'm not saying it had to do something exactly like Persona 4, but it would have been nice to have like a little more depth, maybe to the to what you get out of your social links, maybe. And so far, I haven't really got the same level of intrigue, but maybe it's there. We like we've said, haven't beaten the game yet, so.
Yeah, well, I think I disagree with you on something. I think that to change it to be about their shadow selves again would be kind of revamping the structure of the whole game. So I think the next best thing they could do is make each palace about a specific character as well as, the villain. And I think that's what they do in the game. You do the first palace and it's not just about the villain, but we also kind of explore, Ann's relationship with that villain and Ryuji's relationship with that villain a little bit. And then the second palace is about Yusuke, right?
Yeah.
Like we kind of learn a little backstory on him and such. And so far, it seems to be kind of following that pattern to where it's not just about this villain, but what impact this villain has had on this character. That's so true. I think there's a level of development to the characters. It's just it might not be as pronounced as in Persona 4 since it's not literally about their shadow selves. But there's a direct link between each villain and character so far.
That's true. I guess I didn't feel though that the development of the party member in these cases is quite as interesting. We know their history with the villain, but do they really come to like a new realization, or do they like really get anything out of beating the villain other than we put him in his place? Like in the first with Kamoshida, like I don't know, they didn't really change. They just like, all right, we gave him his comeuppance, basically, right? Am I forgetting something?
Well, I would say with the second and third palaces, it's a little more pronounced. Mainly when the protagonist's personas awake. Each party member has a scene where their persona awakens.
Yeah.
And I think that's usually signified by some element of their heart changing in some way. The first one, it's probably a little more subtle. It's probably a little more about the villain.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still the kind of that personal link to the party members.
That's true.
I haven't really given my full thoughts on the game. I mainly agree with all the stuff you liked. I think the music's really good. I really like the visual style. I mean, it's not like this is basically a PlayStation 3 ported to PlayStation 4 from what I hear. So it's not like super cutting edge, but I mean, I think it looks really good, and I think the menus especially are crazy. They remind me of like Beautiful Joe's style mixed with like a graffiti artist making a ransom note, kind of.
Yeah.
Like it's really like even something like buying equipment in the store, you'll see like animations of in a silhouette of the storekeeper kind of crossing his legs and looking at you from all these different angles. It's really quite a spectacle to just to go do stuff in this game because of everything's so stylish. I really like the setting. I think they capture the feel of Tokyo really well. Like the way that the city's sort of bustling and busy, and the way that the neighborhoods are all cramped. Everything's cramped and tiny.
Yeah.
And it kind of works for the game. It's like it makes me feel like I'm in this area where there's not a whole lot of living space.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's kind of bunched together, which is cool. And what else? In general, I mean, I think the gameplay is all really good. In fact, I think one of the big things that improves upon from Persona 4 is the dungeon design and the gameplay within the dungeon. I feel like there's a lot more going on than just kind of the randomly generated corridors. There's puzzles, and there's treasures, and there's various traps and things that you have to kind of work around. And a lot of times there'll be some sequence that's kind of unique, like you'll have to mess with the security cameras, or like call up one of the bad guys to split up like two shadows to take them on one at a time. I think all that and just the general way the gameplay works between doing your stuff at home and going through dungeons, I think that all complements itself really well. Like it all kind of works together in this. I guess the cool term now is gameplay loop or something, feedback loop or whatever, where you get stronger on the streets, and then you get stronger in the dungeon, and it all kind of balances itself out because of the challenge. So that was all stuff that I really enjoyed. I think one of the main areas where I feel like it's a notable improvement is just in the core gameplay.
Yeah, I would agree with that. What do you think about the stealth mechanics?
I mostly like them. They're a little fidgety. Yeah. Like, I've been caught several times because I'll be crouching. I know that the enemy can't see you while you're hiding, which is a nice like rule to keep in mind. But there'll be times where I'm like crouching and I'm trying to move the camera because the enemy's like right next to my shoulder.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where's my ambush button? Where is it? And then I'll end up coming out of the crouch and they'll see me, and then I'll be in danger.
Yeah.
And I'll die because it's a Shin Megami Tensei game and they got the first hit. So that's happened before. But I mostly like them when they're not like, when it's not like in a weird large open room in the dungeon. That's when it starts kind of freaking out on me. But if it's like a corridor and I'm like, okay, I'll hide behind this plant and I'll jump out, it works pretty well for me.
I would agree with that. I think the puzzles in the dungeons are kind of basic, but I'd still say it's an upgrade over Persona 4's, which don't really have puzzles as much. They're mostly, enemies in a bunch of mazes.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're talking about like JRPG dungeons. There's not really a high standard for. I mean, I'm not expecting like Zelda,
Yeah.
coming into these. So by that metric, I think it really it's pretty impressive. One of the things that bothers me though is I have some issues with like some of the dialogue choices and not the choices you make, but the choices that the writers made or the localization made. I'm not hard to kind of pinpoint exactly.
Oh, like what?
It doesn't feel as strong. The writing doesn't feel as strong as in Persona 4. Like, one of the main things that bothers me is they're always talking about the evil adults. We got to get those horrible adults. You know, they always use that phrase, you know, adults instead of people, and it makes it feel like it feels like it kind of dumbs down the themes of the games into just like the adults are bad and the kids are good, you know, kind of thing. Yeah. And it's not really helped by like the fact that almost all the adults you meet are like either idiots or they're completely corrupt. Yeah. Or you know, like, if they just had like one or two more really strong adult characters, I think it would kind of help add a little more depth. And you do S-Link with a few of them, and you know, this is once again impressions from the first third to half of the game or so. So still kind of early, but I mean, Persona 4 had Dojima kind of at the center of it. Yeah, he was your uncle, and he took you in, and he's by all means portrayed as a good guy. You know, he's a little aloof, but he's like the chief of the police. He's trying to do the right thing. He works hard. You know, it's like this is a good man right in the center of this game that you come home to every day. Yeah. And in this game, I mean, you have a caretaker. He seems okay. I mean, I guess, but he's pretty mean to you for like the first month. You know, you have to really win him over. He's always going out on dates and stuff. He's not really like chief of police type of guy. You know, he seems like an alright guy, but I mean, I would just really like to see like, I feel like the series has a really low opinion of teachers, you know, like there's some horrible teachers in this game. Like I don't know, I think it'd be great if there was just like a nice, really smart, good teacher you can make an S-Link with, you know, because you find a lot of really good kids and teenagers that you know that are great people and stuff. It feels a little edgy to me. I don't know what the word is, but I feel like there could be a better balance between, you know, just having most of the kids all be good and then most of the adults just be horrible.
I'm trying to think in terms of theme why they would do that exactly, and I'm kind of struggling to see why. Like,
I'd say one of the main themes is the new generation kind of throwing out what's unjust about the old generation.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Which is fine. That's a good theme. I just when they make it so one-sided, it feels kind of shallow to me.
Yeah, I will agree.
I mean, this is a game that has a lot of dialogue, which is fun, you know, which is good. But when you have that much dialogue, you can really dig. I mean, you got like over a dozen of these S-Link things. You can really dig into some deep stories here. So I'm hoping that it kind of goes beyond the surface level. Pretty much all the adults are bad kind of thing.
I would hope so. That remains to be seen for us.
I have started some S-Links with a couple of adults. So
yeah, me too. I did too, and they're a little saucy.
Yeah, you know, it's really funny to me. You're fighting this corruption in the school of everyone turning the other way. But then, like, after that, you're inviting your homeroom teacher over to your bedroom and, like, blackmailing her. Like, isn't that equally horrible, basically? Yeah. Kind of funny. So, I don't know where that's going, but I'm intrigued. Ooh, I'm gonna have to follow up on that S-Link. They make her look. She looks like she's 18 too. It's crazy.
Yeah, because she's like kind of short and.
Yeah, it's not like this. She talks about her. Like she might be getting too old for the job at one point, like her second job. But I mean, she looks like a kid, you know. Like they didn't have you like call an old lady, you know, up and have her show up.
Well, that wouldn't be sexy.
No, you know, like a Miss Wormwood from Calvin and Hobbes type show, in a maid outfit. Yeah, but yeah, that's a pretty funny S-Link. I have to see where that goes. Yeah. Further research required.
Yeah. So I'll go back to one point. So the music, I do really like the music. I think almost every song, the first time I heard it, I loved it. But after getting through the first 3 dungeons, I definitely started to feel some repetition was happening with the music. Like I was kind of hoping that, okay, you know, maybe once we get to another chapter or a different month or something, then the music will change. And it really didn't, and I don't know if it does, but I was starting to feel like the music was getting a little long in the tooth. Do you disagree?
Well, I mean that was in Persona 4 as well, right? I mean, I'm not saying like that makes it immune to criticism, but I remember Persona 4 also pretty much having here's the cloudy song, and here's the sky is clear song, and here's the do 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 do. You know, you had the scary song. Yeah. I feel like the variety of music is pretty similar to Persona 4. They have a few songs for like the overworld, and they have one for each dungeon. They have a couple in the third dungeon. I actually really enjoyed the first song in the third dungeon was really funky. It was like, oh yeah. And then they have like an infiltration song. But I think that's more of a series kind of issue because of, you know, you're in one area and the game's going for so long that I guess it makes it more obvious when the songs repeat. But I mean, it wasn't actually bothering me. I was just like, you know.
I think if I'd made one suggestion to fix that, so the theme that plays at night, which is like,
oh yeah, it's like purr, 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 purr.
Yeah, it's kind of the laid back kind of like
yeah. And then there's a vocal version.
Yeah. I liked that. I liked that it wasn't vocal for a while and then they added the vocal. Like, so I think I would have liked the soundtrack would have resonated even more with me if it perhaps changed. So say, okay, every setting that is the same, they'll use the same song for the whole game. Like, that's fine.
Yeah. But they have two versions
gradually. Like,
yeah, that'd be cool.
Like in Mario Galaxy, you know, you have the theme that the observatory theme that builds through the game. Like, that's really cool because just about the time you're starting to like, yeah, okay, I'm used to this song. Then they add a few new instruments and it like revitalizes it. You know?
Okay. Well, Chris, it may still do that.
Well, you're right. It may.
we haven't beaten it yet, so that's yeah. True. I think that'd be cool. You know, they have like a summer and a winter kind of year for the students, so there could be like a summer song and a winter version.
Yeah, I hope so. Because I like I said, I love the soundtrack, but I just wish it would kind of change it up like just once in a while. I just want a little something different to keep it fresh.
Part of
that might have been. I'm sure at some points, like, you know, you pause it and then you do something else for a little while, and the music keeps going in the background. So that might have contributed. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Well, is there anything else we want to cover for Persona 5 so far? Is that all right? We got probably a good 25 minutes of content here, probably.
Oh, at least, yeah. I think the last thing I would probably say is that I'm curious to see what the main plot is going to be, because after 3 dungeons, it's kind of hard to see where the main plot's going. There is this overarching so most of the game actually takes place in a flashback, because the quote unquote present day has the protagonist as a superstar phantom thief being captured by authorities. Yeah. So most of this is taking place during an investigation. During an interrogation of the protagonist. So it flashes back to these scenes where you have to answer questions in this interrogation, and then it flashes back to the past, which is most of the game. Yeah. And you're going through the dungeons and stuff. So I'm curious to see what they'll do with that. So far, the first 3 dungeons don't really connect to an overarching story, which is a little weird.
There's kind of a plot line with the Phantom Thieves and their effect on their gradual rise to fame or infamy, however you want to put it. Yeah. So I mean, they have that detective talking about them after the first couple dungeons.
It's a little vague though. It's not like a driving, developing plot. It's just like, okay, we're kind of taking on a bigger ticket villain this time, but
okay.
I don't know. But like in the first game,
it's definitely it's a plot that kind of takes its time. I think I would agree with that.
Yeah, and you know, I'm not trying to bash it, but I see that Persona 4 and 5 are fairly similar games, and when I think that Persona 4 did things really well, and Persona 5 seems to not quite do things as well in certain ways. It's hard to avoid comparing them because they are fairly similar games, and these are kind of core elements of storytelling and that when Persona 4 did it so well, it's kind of hard to look at Persona 5 in a unique light. Like, I don't know if I'm just being biased because I really like Persona 4. And like, if I hadn't played Persona 4, would I like Persona 5 more? I don't know. I do really like Persona 5, but that's where I am.
Okay. Well, cool. So I guess those are our thoughts on Persona 5 so far. So yeah, let us know what you thought of this game, and please do not spoil it for us. Come on, guys.
Yeah. Pick it up on Nintendo Switch at your local retailer.
Yeah, it's just another one of the many great Switch games, along with Uncharted and can't think of a third thing that's not on Nintendo.
Final Fantasy VII.
There we go. Yeah, Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yep. Because all Smash Brothers characters are from Nintendo games.
That's right. Yes, all of them.
Yep.
All right. Well, cool. Thanks for listening, guys, and we will try to post more frequent updates.
Yeah. Look forward to
Stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna
stay tuned here for more coverage of great Switch games. Wait, we already did that joke. Never mind.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Mario and some other stuff soon. So
yeah.
Check back soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye, guys.
So we don't. I mean, if we're making like a post to like break the hiatus, it probably doesn't have to be this post. But I thought this would be good to kind of, have as a little or a smaller update or something. All right. Well, cool, Chris. I'm gonna go ahead and stop this recording. So, Chris, I got an important question for you.
What's that, Matthew?
Who you planning on dating in this game?
I don't really like the girls that much.
That's really?
But the guys.
Oh, now we're talking. I don't think you can date the dudes though.
What?
Nope.
Oh, you're telling me that Yusuke doesn't swing both ways? Come on.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming with that long pause. You're telling me. Wait. Let me see this. Yeah, but I think the main character has to as well.
You telling me the main character doesn't swing both ways? Come on.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know about you. I guess I do know about you now because you just told me. But I
know
I
who
think
you
I got
like.
I think I got. You know who I like? It's a secret to everyone.
You like anyone with short hair?
I don't like anyone with short hair.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go for Makoto.
Yeah.
She's so smart. She's so smart. She figured us all out.
Yeah,
she figured us all out, even though we had the best hideout ever in the middle of an expressway, which hundreds of people walk through every day, and Ryuji's friggin' loud mouth always going, "Hey guys, what do you want to do today? That's Phantom Thieves. Whose heart should we steal? Steal." She figured us. She figured us out. She had a recording. She's like, "Hey, listen to this recording. Hey guys, yeah." So yeah, she's dateable. I don't feel much for An. She's just kind of whatever. But Makoto, yes, that's who Mashu Taranto needs to end up with.
Yeah, he's An's hair is way too long. I agree.
I haven't met any other girls though, so I mean, I guess some of the S-Link people are probably dateable. Like the doctor, I don't know if I want to date the doctor. I can never say the right thing to her. I was like, "You are a genius," and she's like, "Shut up." And I was like, "You are a bad doctor," and she's like, "Shut up." Nothing makes her happy. Can't be mean. I can't be nice.
She's like a temptress. I don't know that I would date her. I like the teacher though. I would date her.
The teacher's not a temptress.
No,
she literally dresses as a maid for these inappropriate liaisons.
No, she's like really sweet and really sensitive.
What? She's complaining all the time at the beginning. She's like, "Oh, jeez, this student. Why do I have to teach?" Right? She's like, she doesn't want to be a teacher. She doesn't want to be a maid. She doesn't want to be anything. I think it's pretty funny though. Like the whole S-Link there is like, it started off as a Beavis and Butthead routine. It's like Ryuji and Mishima are acting like a couple of knuckleheads. They're like, "Hey, we're gonna score. This is cool." And they get out, they chicken out, and they call her like, "You do it. I can't do it." And then I get embarrassed. My character got embarrassed. But yeah, I don't know about the teacher. It's inappropriate, Chris. Unlike dating a 16-year-old.
Well, if you're a 16-year-old dating a 16-year-old, that's fine, right?
Yeah. My character is 16, so we're in the clear.
Yeah, I guess so. That reminds me. There's one other thing I might want to mention about the game. Repetition of dialogue. Do you feel that like?
Oh, that's
they say the same thing over and over again.
It's like a Japanese storytelling thing. I think I still prefer it to Western storytelling. Maybe that makes me
Really?
a big Japanophile nerd.
Sejiro's like
Not. I mean, Western video game storytelling. I'm saying, not like a Pixar movie,
yeah, okay.
like a Gears of War. You know.
Yeah. I mean, making that comparison, I will take that trade. Yes, but
Okay.
like I don't get why it's like Sojiro says like 1,000 times, "Don't cause any trouble here. If you cause any trouble, or like you are a troublemaker, like don't." He says that like 1,000,000 times.
Yeah, and like every time you go to the palace, they have to explain to a new party member like all the stuff of the palace work. I mean, I guess you'd have to do that anyway, but usually you could like, I don't know, you could fast forward and they'd be like, "Hey, Morgana told me everything. This is pretty weird," But every time it's like, "These are manifestations of the shadows of the blah blah blah," and they're freaking out. "Whoa, what is that? Is that crazy guy? Why does he look so crazy?" So yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty common in. I think that's just like a Japanese storytelling thing. I mean,
maybe
too overgeneralize, I guess. But I'm thinking of like Other M did that a lot. That was a Metro game with a lot of dialogue.
Also, well, that game wasn't exactly a model of storytelling.
Hey, you never played it. You know what? One of these days, I'm gonna defend Other M to a reasonable degree. Not to a crazy degree, because I mean, I didn't. Particularly,
I can develop an opinion about a game I've never played. I'm perfectly capable of doing that.
That's true. I just did with Gears of War. Whoops.